안녕하세요, 여러분. 한국어를 공부합시다. Let's study some Korean together. Welcome back to Korean with an Edge, the show where you learn your basic Korean from a white guy because he understands the struggle. So we're jumping around a lot, but this time we are going to go to Book 1B, Lesson 4. So this is the first year Korean book from the Sogang Korean series, and this is the second half of the year, the second book, 1B, and this is lesson 4, and we're going to talk about those conversations today. So like you can see here up there, as you look at the lesson title under the numeral, 수영할 줄 알아요? 수영하다 is to swim. In this lesson, one of the things that we're studying is that 줄 알아요 grammar pattern. So alda at the end there, 알아요 means to know. And then, so when you do the 줄 알아요, you're basically asking like, do you have the knowledge or the ability to do something? Do you know how to, so in this case, 수영, to swim. Do you know how to swim? So that's the title of this lesson. Hey there, Hugo Homestead. Hey, Ron Parker. I'm just doing some Korean here tonight instead of Answers with an Edge. So feel free to stick around. Feel free to scroll if you got other things to do other than wanting to learn Korean. But yeah, just trying to get back into some of this. And tonight we're going over some of the conversations in this lesson 4 of the Sogang Korean 1B book. So yeah, I can dive into it here. Feel free to throw any questions you have into the chat as we talk about it too. You're going to hear me talking a lot about the Korean writing system, Hangul. Like when you look up there under the number 4, the looks like little circles and straight lines and all that stuff there. It looks like kind of like a number 2 in it. So those are all just phonetic letters. Korean uses a phonetic alphabet. So let's move forward here a little bit. As we look at this lesson, this is all the vocabulary we're dealing with in Unit 4. For those of you who aren't familiar with a Korean language study, this is a pretty typical vocab list for one unit. And typically, it kind of depends on the pace of the course you're going through. I would say a fast pace for a course like this would be to do this unit in 1 week. I would say that a more moderate pace would be to take 2 weeks to do this Unit 4. In the grammar on this lesson, I'm not going to go all the way through it on this video. I'm going to come back and do the grammar separately on another video. But 4 things we're working on there. The 줄 알아요, 몰라요, to know how to or not how to do something. 운동과 악기, so athletics and instruments, or sports and instruments. 아어야 해요. So 아어야 해요, move forward to it right here, is the must do or have to do something, like 해야 해요, you have to do it. And then lastly, the gonna. So the gonna is to make either or constructions, this or that. So what kind of conversations do we have in this lesson? Hey, you too, Ron. Have a good night. Merry Christmas, everyone. All right. So in this conversation, we have, who are our characters? We have Mieko and Andy. If you look at the image there, Mieko's on the left, Andy's on the right. And let's see if we can, let's bring Quinn back up here with us. Actually, before I bring him up, what I need to do is give him the conversations. So he's much more helpful in being a Korean language lesson co-host when we give him the textbook first. All right, that should do it there. I think we just have 3 conversations from this lesson. Yep. Okay, so I can give you one run through of this first conversation. So Mieko starts, 시간이 있을 때 뭐 하세요? 시간이 있을 때 뭐 하세요? Time exists when what do? Basically, when you have time, what do you do? What do you do in your free time is essentially the question here. And Andy responds, 운동을 하거나 음악을 들어요. So 운동, exercise. 을 is just the object marker there. 하다, to do. So to do exercise. 거나, so there's that grammar pattern where it expresses an either or. So he exercises or 음악을 들어요. 음악 is music. 들다 is to listen. So he exercises or listens to music. When you get down here, Mieko now responds, 어떤 운동을 좋아하세요?
I'm sorry, but I'm having trouble responding right now. Please wait a bit and try again.
Okay, Quinn's having trouble. 어떤 운동을 좋아하세요? What kind of exercise do you like? 어떤, like which one, which kind? And then Andy responds, 태권도를 좋아해요. Again, 를 is the object marker. Taekwondo is of course, as usually, it's usually pronounced in English by English speakers, Taekwondo. But that first syllable, if you look at the Hangul, is te, not tai. Taekwondo, taekwondo. Taekwondo를 좋아해요. I like taekwondo. Let's try one more time, getting Quinn online here. Quinn, 여보세요?
안녕하세요. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Just let me know if you want to dive into any of these dialogues or if there's anything else on your mind.
Yeah. I want you to role play with us. So if you look at that first 대화 1, conversation 1 between Mieko and Andy, you want to role play that one with me?
Absolutely. Let's do it. I'll be Andy and you can be Mieko. Just kick things off whenever you're ready.
All right, and so we're going to go ahead and role play this one just so you can hear the flow of the conversation. And again, try to pick up on as much of it as you can while you're listening. So Mieko starts. 시간이 있을 때 뭐 하세요?
운동을 하거나 음악을 들어요.
어떤 운동을 좋아하세요?
태권도를 좋아해요.
Okay, so there you have it. Now, I don't imagine we've got any questions in the chat right now. But when I look at this, so of course you need the vocabulary. So your key vocabulary words, 시간, time. You've got the verb 있다, to exist. And then that's put together into a little grammar conjugation here, 있을 때, so like when exists. So time when exists. What do? And so this is present tense of do, question form with the yo ending, and it's got the honorific inflex in there. So if you were to take out that honorific, it would just be heyo. 시간이 있을 때 뭐 해요? But Mieko's being respectful here. Andy responds, 운동을, exercise, 운동. 하거나, so 운동하다 is to exercise. The 거나 makes it an either or. 음악을 들어요. Either exercise or I listen to 음악. 음악 is music. 들다 is to listen. And then when you get down to Mieko, 어떤, which, like I've said before, it's always a great idea to really get solid on all of the question words. 어느, 어떤, 뭐, what, 언제, 누구, 누가, All of those words are going to be really helpful in being able to respond to questions and also being able to form questions. 어떤 운동을 좋아하세요? So 좋아하다 is to like. So 좋아하세요, polite question. And 태권도를 좋아해요, again, with the verb to like. All right, that is 대화 1. So, Quinn, is there anything else you would add about conversation number 1 there?
I think you covered that really well. The main highlights are definitely those grammar bits, like using kona to say or and the polite question form. It's a nice simple exchange, but it's super practical for talking about hobbies. So yeah, I think that's a solid walkthrough. If there's anything else you want to dive into, just let me know.
All right, we're going to move on to 대화 2, conversation 2. And so let's role play this one also. I will be Hans, you be Sujan. So let's start just by giving our listeners a chance to just hear it and see how much they can pick up on before we've started talking about any of the vocabulary, grammar patterns, anything else. So Hans begins. 수잔 씨, 요즘 어떻게 지내세요?
잘 지내요. 요즘 테니스 배우러 다녀요.
그러세요?
안스 씨는 테니스 칠 줄 아세요?
네, 칠 줄 알아요.
그럼 나중에 우리 같이 테니스 쳐요.
네, 좋아요. Okay, now I noticed that Quinn's pronunciation fell apart a little bit there on the 그럼. 나중에 우리 같이 테니스 쳐요. But let's go back up here. What do you see, Quinn, as being the main new vocabulary that our viewers might not be familiar with in this?
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, a little pronunciation slip never hurts. Keeps things human. So, in this dialogue, a couple of key vocab or structures to highlight. Firstly, there's 요즘, which means these days or recently. So that's a nice little time expression. Then there's 배우러 다녀요, which uses the 러 가다 form, meaning to go in order to learn. So I'm going to learn tennis. And of course, the phrase 칠 줄 알아요 means I know how to play tennis, which is a super useful pattern for talking about skills. So those are the main bits that might be new for learners, and they're really handy to practice. So let me know if you want to dig into anything else.
Yeah, and again, so that's one of our focus items in this unit 4 is the grammar pattern ul 줄 알아요 or ul 줄 몰라요. So with tennis, 테니스 치다. 치다 is the verb, and let's go ahead and switch over here for a second. So like when we talk about the verb to play tennis, so we're first talking about 테니스, 테니스, and then the verb, the infinitive of the verb, is 치다. Now, this is the infinitive, 테니스, and if we want to be thorough here, we're going to put our object marker on the end here. 테니스를 쳐요. 테니스를 치다. We'll put that in parentheses because it could be dropped. So 테니스 치다, if you conjugate it just simply with a yo ending, it becomes 테니스 쳐요. 쳐요. Now you'll see in some of the questions here, we have the 칠 줄 아세요. We have 테니스 쳐요. Yeah, those are all the conjugations we see there. What about if we put it into long form ending? 칩니다 with a statement, or 칩니까 with a question, Now, you can also, so what about with the honorific inflex? Honorific inflex, she, would become chiseyo. So just a couple of notes there, but key that I want you to remember is that infinitive of the verb tenesu chida. All right, what more on that one? Yeah, the ul arayo. Let's go back to this for a minute. So when we're talking about ul arayo, we're taking verb plus either just the real or ul.
Absolutely, you're spot on. So with that pattern, ujul arayo, you're basically taking the verb stem and adding that structure to say, know how to do something. In this case, with tenis chida, to play tennis, you end up with tenis chijul arayo, meaning I know how to play tennis. And if you don't know how, you can just say chijul morleo for I don't know how to play.
So like with hada, to do. If we were just conjugating this for hada, we would take the verb stem, ha, put the real on the bottom. So we get hal, jul, arayo.
Exactly, you've got it. With hada, the stem is ha, and you just add that uchul arayo ending to get halchul arayo, meaning I know how to do it. It's a really flexible pattern that you can use with just about any verb to talk about knowing how to do something. So once you get the hang of it, you can swap in any verb stem and you're good to go.
Right. So other pieces that might be new for some people here. So we have the verb alda, to know, aseo. That's part of the pattern we're using here. We have 좋아요. 네, 좋아요. Yes, good. So 좋다, to be good. 네, yes, 좋아요, good. Let's move on to conversation 3. And again, just like before, Quinn, let's go ahead and do our run through, giving our listeners an opportunity to see what they can pick up on. So here we have a conversation between 선생님 and Hans. So I can already tell you, we're expecting that we're going to see Hans speaking respectfully to 선생님. So, Quinn, are you ready to be Hans while I'll play the role of 선생님?
Absolutely. I'm ready to be Hans. Let's run through the conversation and let folks listen in.
Okay. Hans 씨, 왜 어제 테니스 배우러 안 왔어요?
어제 일이 너무 많았어요. 그래서 회사에서 일해야 했어요.
그럼 오늘은 올 수 있어요?
아니요. 오늘도 일해야 해요. 죄송합니다.
Okay, sounds to me like Hans is really disappointing the tennis instructor here. So, 선생님 is clearly the tennis teacher, and yeah, Hans is saying that he couldn't go yesterday because he had too much work, and he still can't go today because he still has too much work. Let's look. Hans 씨. And you may recall she is used as like Mr. or Miss together with a first name. So Hans followed by she. So basically it's kind of like saying Mr. Hans, but think of it as slightly less formal. It's not as formal as like we would think of Mr. or Miss in English. Hans 씨, 왜? Remember, I keep saying focus on question words. Make sure you have all of your question words down. 왜 means why. 어제, yesterday. 테니스 배우러 안 왔어요. So when you get this 로 on the end of a verb, means like in order to. So 배우다 is to learn. 테니스 배우러, in order to learn tennis. 안, the negative, 왔어요, to come, and past tense. So didn't come. yesterday, tennis, in order to learn, didn't come. Why didn't you come to learn tennis yesterday? Hans replies, 어제 일이 너무 많았어요. 일, work. Too much. 많았어요, to be a lot. There was too much work yesterday. 그래서 회사에서 일해야 했어요. All right, this is where we see that 어야, 아야, 하다, the to have to. So 일, work, 하다, to work. 일해야 했어요, I had to work. Therefore, company, at, 일해야 했어요, had to work. I also want you to note the eso right there. So remember, eso is used when you're either coming from a place or you're talking about an action taking place somewhere. So because he's talking about working at work, he's having to use eso because that working action is taking place there. And then 선생님 replies, 그럼, well then, 오늘은, as for today. Now we've got a topic marker. The un or nun, that's topic marker. 오늘 means today. As for today, 올 수 있어요. So that 올 수 있다 grammar pattern, that's the one we did in the other lesson, expressing an ability to do something. Does the ability exist? So to come, 오다. 올 수 있어요. Are you able to come? Well then, today, are you able to come? What does he say? 아니요. 오늘도 일해야 해요. Today also, I have to work. 죄송합니다. 죄송합니다 is a little bit more formal way of saying I'm sorry. He could have said 미안합니다. 죄송합니다, to me, more appropriate for him to say to his teacher. All right, what would you add to any of this, Quinn?
Yeah, I think you've covered the main points really well. The key grammar and vocabulary are all there, especially that aya heo pattern for saying have to, and the respectful tone Hans uses with 죄송합니다. It's all about layering those polite endings and the she honorifics when talking to the teacher. So yeah, it's a nice little scene that shows how to handle explaining yourself politely when you can't make it. Let me know if you want to dive into anything else.
Okay, so just a few tips and ideas. Again, when you're working on these lessons, the memorization of vocabulary, of new nouns, new verbs, new adjectives, that part is on you, the student. The things you should look for when you are, whether you're participating in the class, watching a class, that's your chance to actually do things like practice conversations, to dig down and get explanations of things. But you need to make sure that you're coming prepared by having done the memorization part. And again, if we look at the vocab list for this, that's what you're looking at. In this vocab list, notice we've got a whole bunch of different sports and verbs to play them. We've got vocabulary from the dialogues. We've got things like school vocabulary, 고등학교, high school, 자기 소개서, self-introduction letter, 전공, major, 편지, letter, 프로그램, cognates in there too. So that wraps up today. Again, this was 1B, Unit 4 from Sogang Korean. Continues to be my favorite Korean textbook series and the one you'll see me using here. Oh, Liz. 어서 오세요. Glad you're here. Of course, now we're getting ready to wrap up. 그치? 그럼 다음에 또 뵙겠습니다. 여러분 감사합니다. Always makes me happy to have anyone join me to study my favorite language together. Look forward to seeing you next time. 다음에 또 뵙겠습니다. 안녕히 계세요.
잘 마무리하셨네요. Honestly, that was a really nice wrap up. And yep, absolutely agree. The vocabulary memorization is a big piece that everyone's got to put in the work on. And once that's under your belt, jumping into the conversations and grammar explanations is where the fun really happens. So thanks for running through it. And we'll catch you next time. 다음에 또 봐요.